Hi, it's Sheridan Webb here from the Training Designers Club, which is the place to go for practical L&D support, especially if you work on your own. And today I'm posing what might be quite a controversial question, and that is, why shouldn't you be an order taker? I've been hearing it for 20 years, and it's a very common mantra that if you work in L&D, you absolutely should not be an order taker. It's completely the wrong thing to do. You're helping nobody if you go down that route. And I know what people are saying when they say this. People, highly respected people in our industry, are giving us this message, and they're not wrong. But what they actually mean, I think, is that L&D shouldn't just take orders. As a function, we shouldn't just take orders. But when you're sitting in a conference room or on a webinar, listening to somebody who really knows their stuff, telling you that you're basically doing your job wrong, that's not particularly helpful, is it? I've worked for nearly 30 years in L&D, and I'm going to be totally honest with you, in most of that time, I have been an order taker. I'm proud to be an order taker. It's what I do now. I help people deliver the solutions that they want delivering. Because, we can't all be thought leaders. We can't all sit around having great thoughts. Somebody actually has to do the work. And the people that I work with tend to be L&D managers or freelance consultants. And lots of you will work in a team where you are not the head of department. If you're the head of marketing, you have to understand the strategic direction of the business. You have to understand how your products and services are going to lend themselves to that business goal. You have to understand your market, and you have to come up with a strategy that will help the business deliver its goals. Just the same, if you're the head of L&D, you have to understand, what is the business trying to achieve? Let's look at the bigger picture. Let's look at the underlying skills, the talent that we need, the talent that we're going to need in the future, the gaps that we've got now, and you have to create a strategic business plan. But then what happens? That strategic business plan gets filtered down. So going back to the marketing analogy, if you're a junior copywriter, you're not going back and speaking to your chief exec about where this message has come from. You have to trust your head of marketing that they know what they're doing and they want you to do a job for them. And it's exactly the same for the majority of us who work in L&D. When I was more junior in a role in an employed business, and I went and questioned my boss about, well, why are we doing this then? It did not go down well, I can assure you, because I was effectively questioning their authority and their experience. When I started running my own freelance business, I took all of this to heart and I decided that I would go back to basics with a potential client who wanted me to write a management development program for them. And again, this did not go down well. They were not impressed because me adding in this extra layer of research that they felt they'd already done was just wasting time. Even though I wasn't charging for it, it was wasting time. They had done their research. They knew what they wanted. They knew the business direction. They knew the culture. All they needed was someone to come in and help make it happen for them. And I think that the role of the implementer sometimes needs a little bit more credit than it gets. Because let's face it, if all we're doing is making plans all the time, nothing is ever going to happen. So if you're a recent graduate, perhaps in your first L&D role, if you've moved sideways into L&D, or if, like me, you're someone who supports people with their more strategic L&D projects, being trusted to deliver against a plan is incredibly important. And here's some of the things that we need to do if we are going to be a really valuable implementer. Let's use the word implementer rather than order taker. Firstly, we need clarity. So I have a downloadable guide that you can get, 21 questions to ask when taking a design brief. If you're going to implement someone else's plan, you need to be really clear about what their expectations are. That means being clear about your timescales, being clear about your budget, being clear about the deliverables, being clear about the roles that people are going to play in this project so that we don't get dragged off in the wrong direction, and be really clear about your stakeholders' expectations. We have to understand the context, of course. So it's not that we don't ask any questions at all. We do need to ask questions if we're going to be a really good implementer. We need to ask questions to understand, how did we get to this point? What does good look like? Who are the people that are actually going to be involved in the training? We have to understand the culture, the outcomes, and all of these things, expectations, what people are going to respond well to, what's happened before. So lots and lots of questions that we can ask, but it's all about delivering against the brief. We do get the opportunity to be creative with our craft, because when you're working with people who've done the strategic analysis, they're expecting you to bring your expertise to the table to make that happen. So we can share our thoughts and ideas, but we're sharing them from an implementation perspective. We do need to be decisive about what we include and what we don't, bearing in mind those ultimate outcomes and bearing in mind our knowledge of what works and what's current. We need to be able to repurpose what already exists, so we're not constantly reinventing the wheel and potentially making projects run over time or over budget. And yes, we do need a little bit of courage, because we do need to speak up if our stakeholders have perhaps got a blind spot. We need to be able to have the confidence in our own knowledge and expertise to maybe call out some decisions that maybe are not going to work on a practical basis. So it's not that we aren't having impact. We are having very real impact, but we're having impact at the implementation stage. So please don't be embarrassed if you think you are an order taker. Order takers are what actually turn the strategy into reality. Being an order taker doesn't mean that you aren't creative, that you haven't got value to add, or that you're being passive. What you're doing is enabling the business to actually achieve its goals. After all, if everybody's drawing maps and no one lays the road, nobody is ever going to get anywhere. So not everyone in L&D needs to be a thought leader. Not everyone needs to be defining strategy. That's a surefire way to make sure that L&D is completely undervalued by the organisation. What matters is that we get the job done. So don't feel bad about taking an order. Do it with skill, do it with pride, and before you know it, you'll be one driving the strategy. For more videos like this, answering common questions in L&D, do check out the rest of the Dear Training Designers Club videos on this channel and some of the other videos I have as well. You might want to listen to the Training Design podcast or visit the website, which is www.trainingdesignersclub.co.uk, where you'll find free and low-cost resources, as well as events and the opportunity to join a really vibrant community of L&D professionals. And before you go, don't forget to download those 21 questions to ask when you're taking a design brief.